Welcome to Garranto Expert Talk Get. This is a new initiative from Garranto to get expert advice on future of the jobs and skills. Today's topic is agile jobs and skills. I would like to request Dr. Koti to take it forward.
Thank you, Emily. Good evening, everybody. I think we'll get started in the interest of time. If somebody joins, we'll see on the fly how to address those questions as well. So today, how I would like to conduct this session is as a small lean coffee kind of very informal open house kind of discussion to experiment so that you all feel comfortable. Any questions can be asked and we can agree upon certain questions what it requires to be answered in the time available. So we have roughly about another 80 to 85 minutes of the time. So you can spend some quality time. And you all have this Miro board, what I shared here. Please access that and you can post all of your questions. So what I would say is this agile roles and skills or jobs, the topic what we are talking now, you can post your questions here. If the questions goes beyond certain numbers, which may not be able to address in the time available, for the entire process of collecting these questions and finalizing them to answer will take 5 to 10 minutes time. So net, you will have a solid 1 hour time to get some good discussion and responses to those questions. So in the interest of 60 minutes or so, if we find that all the questions what you are asking are not going to be able to address, then I will follow a pattern in the lean coffee mindset. I will give you some votings to choose what questions you would like to answer in the today's discussion. If the questions are more, if the questions are less, if I feel like we can answer all of them, then we will take one by one. That is how I am going to follow the process in more agile way. And with that context, I will open the forum to write questions. I am sure most of you are familiar with the Miro board. If not, do let us know on the usage of the Miro board. This has got access to everybody. All you need to do is post your question here. For that, you need to use the sticky on the left-hand side. Whatever the color you wanted to choose does not matter. And take that and write what you wanted to ask. Right? What are the roles in save per se, even for that matter. So whatever comes to your mind, you can put and post. And I'm going to time box this for 5 minutes. In 5 minutes time, post what are the questions you wanted to get them answered in today's discussion. And I will follow the process as I mentioned further. Those who joined little late can use this Miro board. Still, we have 1 more minute to go. If any questions you would like to ask in this session. So leverage 1 more minute time to post any of the questions on this board, please. Time up. So I think we have very less quorum anyway and less questions. We can take all of them. Is the time enough to stop posting the question, or you need more time for the questions? Team, anybody want to speak? Is the time enough, or you want more time for the questions? Anybody speaking on mute? Looks like everybody is mute. I don't understand, then why are you here? Please unmute yourself if you want to get some knowledge. Yes. Hello, hope everybody is here. Can you hear
Yes.
me, Emily?
Yes, Dr. Koti.
I'm not sure what is happening with the people. Everybody is in the sleep mode, in mute, and not responding. Guys, anybody now? This is good enough from the questions point of view. I can take all of them in the time available, and if we see any other questions at the end, we'll start talking about one by one. Okay, so as discussed, I will pick all the questions one by one, and whoever has written that, if that is clarified, good. If not, let us have a dialogue further to understand. So first one is here. Who do these new roles like release train engineer, system architect, etc. reports to in an organization? So basically, there is no straight answer for this. If somebody says this is what it is a foolishness, because organization context counts for what it means to reporting kind of stuff here. So what I have seen practically working in the real time is people make a subject matter expertise groups in the organization, those who are serious about transformations. Now, some of the key roles they call the center of excellence or whatever as a transformation office, and few of the key roles which are specific to the framework, there will be a kind of one person in charge for the transformations. Now, usually the people who are the SMEs in the transformation will hold that accountability, and some of these key roles will be reported there. This is one kind of pattern where the transformation office is very highly matured. Other aspect what I have seen is based on the rules what you are referring here. For example, we are talking about release train engineer, system architect, and of course, you may even talk about product manager and other roles as well. These people are having very diversified background and experience. So what is working in most of the cases is the release train engineer typically report into development organization. When I say development organization, let us say there is a release train working for a particular business unit. And in that business unit, this particular train is pertaining to a particular value creation within that business unit. So whoever is heading that delivery accountability, this RTE role is usually reporting to that person, the delivery head, kind of. System architect, especially when it comes, regardless of what portfolio or the train they are supporting, I have seen practically system architects are reporting to their siloed approach of the organization. Still, there is an architectural division in the enterprise, and these system architects are reporting to the architecture head of the organization, and they are deployed to the train as a full-time available or part-time available. Because if the train is fully loaded, you have all the 12 teams and you need some good architecture guidance. So we need a dedicated system architect. So 100% of the time of the architect is aligned to this particular train, while the reporting can happen to the other architecture head of the organization. Similarly, product managers and other niche skill, they will be reporting to the business side of the world in the organization, and they have given the task of assigning to this particular Agile release train. So practically, the release train engineer is more or less reported to that particular delivery head of the business unit, and system architect are reporting to the enterprise architecture head, and product managers are reported to the business side of the world based on what function you call in the enterprise. These are usually followed practices when they report. Of course, the capacities are allocated to the train as appropriate, as a single cohesive unit. I don't see any organization where all these roles are reporting to a specific person in that train or in that business unit. I have seen during my consulting, one of the organization, they do have a concept of value management office. I have seen that only once. The value management office has got all the key people for the transformation, and all the key roles are being reported to that person, whoever is heading the value management office for the business unit. Again, different value management offices are possible for different portfolios in the organization. It is a very less likely that all the key roles are reporting that value management heads, kind of. Still, in most of the organizations, some of the key roles are reported to their functional divisions with an alignment to the capacity allocations to the train. That's how it is. So that is a complete story on the reporting structure about these key roles. And if somebody is thinking that there is one person who is actually getting all these people reported in the safe context, that's not correct. What is not practically followed on the ground reality. I hope that question answers. I think this was from who has written this? I think it's Jasper, right?
Yeah, I wrote this. So I think so for RTE, you're saying they report to business delivery head of delivery head.
Yes, that's what mostly it's working. Some organizations, let us say they are fully matured, as I mentioned about it, highly matured organization. When I say matured, they are fully implementing SAFe, probably that they're gone for SAFe beyond the teams, beyond the portfolios and all. They will have that solution train engineer as well, because they may be creating these solutions by and large across the organization. There might be different trains at a solution capacity or individual essential capacity, so on and so forth. At that time, the solution train engineer roles are matured very well. At that time, it is a possibility that all the release train engineers are reported to the train engineers. If the organization don't have the solution train engineer roles, if they are not working by and large solutions, these people will report to the delivery organization as an accountable roles there, because delivery head becomes the accountable at the end of the day for the value chains. So that's the thin line you need to also can understand. Depending upon the maturity of the organization, they may be reporting to the solution train engineer or to the department head of that business unit.
Okay. So product management and product owner, they typically report to business side.
Yes,
But
they're
do they
always
need
to the business side.
But do they come from business? Must they come from business, or can they come from IT but report to business?
Depending upon what they are deserving and aspiring, both the things you need to understand. Mostly what I have seen is the business side, even from the hierarchy and the functional divisional perspective. Somebody becoming from IT side is very rare. Until unless you are fully empowered the IT division, people, because of their existence in that space for some time. I have seen in one of the organization where their IT is pretty much aligned to the business, and they are working together for some time, and they have very good handle on the domain knowledge of the product as well. That's where it was a possibility because of the geographical issues as well. The product manager were reporting to the IT part of the world because of that alignment and understanding working for a long time. Otherwise, in general, purely from the business context and business background people, business side of the world, this is the system we create from product management to the solution management, all the way through your epic bonus and so on and so forth. Everybody falls in a business bracket as a hierarchy of the people.
But if business don't understand tech, how is he able to deprioritize and prioritize the product backlog or the program backlog?
So prioritization and deprioritization is a separate question. Just reporting to somebody does not solve that problem. Reporting is not the answer to those questions what you're asking. That's where the collaboration, individuals and interactions, what we strongly recommend. Of course, your system architect and your product manager together need to figure out the right solutioning part of it in the beginning. And similarly, your enterprise architect also will closely work with the epic owners. And of course, business owners are always part of the game in all of these discussions to make some decisions. So where do they report is purely an administrative thing. And reporting to different set of people does not solve all this decision making process. Decisions on what is feasible, what is not feasible, what requires to be done, what does not require to be done is very different. Reporting is very different. In most of the organization, reporting is happening for the sake of all other administrative processes, not to take charge of these kind of decisions.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Good. So let us look at something else. Agile practice head roles. What is this means? Can you please explain me to understand this a little better?
Dr. Koti,
Yes, please.
this is Dr. Sri Nagesh from Infosys. Thank you so much for organizing this wonderful presentation. See, if we are setting up agile practice head position in an organization, by looking at the organization, what are the practices, what are the things this practice head need to set up? Suppose if you don't have such a setup in the organization, there
So
are
you
some
are talking
verticals.
about. So you are talking about the roles of agile practice head or the competencies it requires to become the practice head.
Both.
Okay. So that's the reason when I look at the chord, it is a different meaning to me. When you explain, there is a different meaning. So I thought I'll clarify.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. So then it is a two-dimensional answer again here. Agile practice head role, what it demands versus what is expected. So from my experience, again heading in few of the occasions from my experience, the competency is what it needs to build as an agile practice head. First thing is the growth mindset. One has to has the growth mindset in the enterprise and understanding the new ways of working in the current digital disruptive world. And how do you apply that way of thinking, understanding what is changing in the marketplace and what we need to do to meet that changes is what matters. So agile practice head has to be the most advanced servant leader, I would say, with the open mind and the growth mindset. Number one, competency as an individual. Number two, that is the soft side of the nature of the personality. Number two, this person should understand the complete agile umbrella, the version of agile. What this means in the agile? Because sometimes people think Scrum and agile are interchangeable. They don't understand beyond Scrum. They want to hit these things. Then it will be the disaster. What is the big picture of the agile? Why do people care about agile? What it makes them to think? What we need to do? What kind of transformations we need to plan? What is the feasibility kind of things? How do you help people to understand the feasibility part? And what is that burning platform to the people? Why anybody should care? What kind of abilities you are going to build as a function? You need to have all of these capabilities. Maybe as an individual, not necessarily he or she need to know everything, but you must understand the game of the complete agile transformation as a practice head. The skills it requires is what is that it takes to get the transformation happen. That ability you should have as an individual. You must understand what all it takes to get there. You need not to know each and every step in that process. Of course, you have the people to get the job done. But what is that you have the high level view point of view? Can you really differentiate between just like a transitioning from point A to point B or translation from terminology perspective versus real transformation? How do you help organization to really see the transformation means and what it takes to get there? And how do you identify that working culture? How do you identify the pilots? How do you showcase the result? How do you get some kind of buy-in? So these are all certain more abilities you should possess as a practice head. Then you should have agnostic to the framework mindset. Usually you should not take the biasing to one of the framework as a practice head. You must understand the holistic picture of the enterprise. You must understand the holistic picture of the frameworks available. You must understand the context of your organization and context of your clients if you're working in a service-based organization. You must understand that customer empathy and what makes sense and what does not make sense. Then that will help your downstream of the people to do the right things as per the customer needs. That is another aspect as a agile practice said, you must have that. At the end of the day, you must also possess all the required things, what it takes to baseline, to mature, to showcase the result to the leadership so that there is a consistent buy-in and outcomes to the organizations. You must have that ability to measure and grow and measure and show the progress in terms of the business outcomes. And again, you should have the ability on setting up the right metric culture in the organization, because people start measuring everything because they can measure anything. It does not make any sense, right? If you start measuring anything for that matter, you must have that ability of what makes sense to measure and how to measure. It is not a watermelon reporting kind of culture to create. What you like, I can give the report. No, the telemetry you need to create, system should speak about it. What metrics first placed, what kind of culture you need to have, how do you report it, how do you learn from there, how do you create that culture? That is also very, very important for you to appreciate in that role to show what benefits you are bringing back to the table by doing some of those transformations and which are helping customers at the end of the day. So these are certain things I would say your capabilities. Again, of course, list can go on a little bit, but these are in principle one has to possess from a competency standpoint of view. So when it comes to the expectation of these roles and responsibilities point of view, Of course, everybody understands this agile practice head role as an enabler role in any organizations to meet that end user needs. Whatever you call your productivity, your speed to market and quality and everything else happens because of the ways of working you are creating in the enterprise. Sometimes you will become a bottleneck to take the responsibility of that, which is not the reality. The fundamental responsibilities of this person in any agile organization is to, first of all, baseline the current state of affairs of the organization in the agile space and understand the people in the organization, their emotions and their skill set and their caliber in this competency required in the agile world. So how that sometimes kind of people do surveys to understand the competency and the current state of affairs to baseline the as is state. That is what your responsibility. Usually, whenever you go start leading this practice, that is what expected from you to tell the as is story by using various levers and tools and techniques. Then have a dialogue with the business units and see where they wanted to go, what they need to do. And then you have your own strategy to go and meet the targets from the baseline. In that process of baseline to the targets, you may need to start mentoring the entire organization in the respective business units. Of course, as a practice head, you will have many other enterprise coaches reporting into you probably. You have different scrum masters probably in your umbrella. These are all coaches at various levels of the organization. So leverage them. Your job is to mentor these people time to time so that they can coach better in their departments and they can showcase the results from time to time from the baseline. So that conducting the inspect and adopt regular frequency kind of cadences with our community of practices as agile coaches and make sure that they are maturing over a period of time to cater the needs of their business units. This is another major responsibility for you. And also to streamline the things at enterprise level in the agile space, not in reinventing the wheel by all the coaches again and again. How do you streamline some of the practices to be cross-pollinated across the organization? Net, you are maximizing the value to the customers by optimizing the value of the coaches across the board to mature over a period of time. So this is what will yield the business results based on your working culture created within the coaches community to help the rest of the organizations to see that business results based on the targets what they kept against the baselines. And again, it is a repetitive cycle from time to time, having a dialogue with the business units and see how they are feeling, what their point of view, what is changing, what need to be changed in the expectation again, what additional levers you need to bring from time to time to adjust the coach's mindset and mentoring. Again, ultimately, we need to make your immediate delivery organization successful. Your success comes from their success, right? And so you are enabler. And these are some kind of responsibilities as an agile practice head, which might help you in the long run. I hope that helps in both the dimension of the competencies it requires as a skill set versus what is expected from the agile practice head.
Yes, Dr. Koti, fantastic. I mean, appreciate, really great. Thank you.
Good. Thank you for that. Good. So these are done. Let us take this, which is closed here again. Details of VSI and VSM. Is it value stream identification and value stream mapping?
Yes. Can I give some details on that, Dr. Koti?
Yes, please.
Okay. So in normal, global agile transformations, what I have seen is like the value stream identification and value stream mapping. People are doing in the initial stages of the agile transformation. Let's say within 3 months of the agile transformation. Point number one is like what is the role of agile enterprise agile coach in facilitating that kind of value stream identification, value stream mapping workshops during the early stages of this thing. So what I want help from you, if I am that agile coach, how many days before I have to start doing homework, what are the inputs I should collect, whom I should invite the workshop, and what things we have to do in the workshop, what are the expected outcome of the workshop, if I do it in the beginning. Similarly, if I have to do it, anytime after 3 months, 4 months continuously, what kind of VSM I need to do once in a 3 months, once in a 6 months, such kind of details. Two varieties of this. My point, Dr. Koti.
Good. Thank you for that, Sri Nagesh, to elaborate on that. First of all, value stream identification is different, value stream mapping is different. So sometimes people get confused also. Identification comes from the business outcomes any organization is doing in their respective portfolios or departments. You need to have a dialogue. I will talk about that as you requested about participants. And once you have done that, you need to look at from end-to-end point of view, because every value stream start with the customer and with the customer. From where the request is coming and why we are doing what we are going to do and how we are going to do in that process is called various steps involved in the value creation. So value stream mapping comes from that angle, and value stream identification happens before that to the mapping part of the game. And if you look at the timelines point of view here, as you see here, identification of value streams will happen once you decided this tipping point. I am sure that you understand, and most of you as well understand here. If you are not crossed this, it is unlikely that it can happen. Even if it happens for a reason, it's not the right thing, or you will see hardly any success if you are not following the right roadmap as it is. That is the first thing anybody need to understand in the safe implementation. There is no shortcut for the success. This is the blueprint for the business agility success. So people do the tipping point and training some decent stakeholders there to understand, because if you don't involve the right stakeholders in the game to create this value stream, it is very unlikely that you are going to do the right job. So the question is, the timelines and the people need to be involved. So ultimately, as the value streams are the way of life in the SAFE we are recommending, everything revolves around these value streams in the development perspective and operational perspective. We need to really understand what it means by involving the right stakeholders. Now, those stakeholders from the lean portfolio management function, if you have done one, if not all the senior key stakeholders of the organization, which we call fiduciaries, who has the budget authority and financial authorities and approval authorities, and all other executives from the business side of the world and the development organization of the world, all those people will come together to participate in this identification of the value streams. In that perspective, there could be executives, there could be some managers of the departments. If whatever the business unit heads think are the right candidates, the product managers of the product lines, all of that people will come here. Those are very high level to understand who are the stakeholders. And I have seen the heads of different units. When I say the units, could be the department or business unit, or it could be your quality head, your all enabling function heads also possible. For example, your CFO, right? Your procurement head, human capital head. Sometimes the heads of the enabling functions as well in the game should be, because they need to understand culturally what's happening. And of course, they are part of these trainings well before that as well. So once they come together, they will be able to figure out the value streams based on the overall value or product lines what your organization is having. That is the stakeholders' point of view. Timelines, typically what I have seen is, any organization to reap the benefit of the successful SAFE implementation takes 3 to 5 years. If you want to really see this accelerate from the time they decided to go to SAFE, trust me, it might be roughly 5 years or more even. Now, if that is the process timelines to see the real tangible benefits and maturity to accelerate the journey itself, it will take, as you see, 2/3 of the thing in the journey is all about PA planning. The first ever PA planning happens almost at the 2/3 of these timelines, right? Which means in the first, I would say 6 to 9 months of the time. Since the time they decided upon the go safe, they spend whole bunch of time on the readiness, organizational readiness, content readiness, people readiness, backlog readiness. Everything happens. Of course, different trainings to different people, identification of this is a workshop again. I see typically it might happen in a quarter time, if not quarter, worst case 6 months of the time frames this should happen once you decided this. If the teams are done very good due diligence and upfront proactive thinking, it might happen within 1 month after the decision of this tipping point as well. But I don't see this happens the next day after the tipping point for sure. It may take a month minimum to 3 months average. Sometimes it may take up to 6 months also based on the complexity of the organizations you are living with. So that is the general timelines. I would say anytime between 1 to 6 months to get this done. And so you have the idea of what is my low hanging fruit. So from where I can start the game so that we can start piloting and coaching them and preparation for the art launch and then go for successful PA planning. From that, you learn and move on with more coachings and learnings from there. So that's what I would say. What is this VSI and VSM is all about, and then how do you see stakeholders and timelines on this implementation roadmap? Does that help, or any other questions?
Yes, Dr. Koti, I think that really helps. Great. But can I ask you one follow-up question on that?
Yes, please.
So as you explained in very detail, that is how I think in some of our agile transformations are they're doing. But second question is, already agile transformation started around 3 years ago. Whatever you just said, we have done that. But now, over the last 3 years, we had great learnings. But every 3 months, every once in 3 months and 6 months, for every one development value stream, for every one development value stream, one agile release stream, we are also trying to do some kind of value stream identification and mapping for that particular development value stream, just to get a clarity about the rework or any changes, people 10-20% attrition in all the roles, and there
Right.
are some changes in business and all. So can you please give details about that once in a 3 months value stream workshop to be done for every agile release train, just before one agile release train, only for features and stories, that kind of details, Dr. Koti.
Basically, when I say about this, what you call 3 months of the time frames required for that, it's not about for every agile release train or every time kind of stuff. So what you need to understand is from this implementation point of view, this is a one-time job in the beginning of the transformation, because by and large, what happens in any organization context is you don't change the game overnight, which means, let us say, I am from a product-based company. I may have different product lines in the marketplace. Once I do this value stream identification, by product lines are a different context, whatever you take as a reference to divide and conquer, you do the value stream identification workshop. And once you're done with that, it is just that you are starting with a pilot or something to start the game, which essentially means you have all the value streams identified, which need to be implemented yet. You don't care about before launch of every art we do this activity, not necessarily. Until unless you are changing in a big time in the enterprise, your product lines are becoming upside down, you're acquiring new products and mergers are happening, then there is a possibility you need to revisit from time to time. And it is not so frequent as if for every train you are starting. So have that clarity. What is that value stream identification you are doing? Sometimes that is also a flip side of it, what you're asking. Are you doing this value stream identification workshop for the entire organization or a particular department? It also depending upon the context. Suppose if you are not done organizational level value stream identification, you went for a business unit and you have done that. And after implementing one, you are going to pick the next one identified in the sequence of ordering based on which trains to start and all. If you have done organization level, this activity happens less frequently. If you have done at portfolio level, department level, this activity could be repetitive activity for different portfolios. So usually what we recommend is, in a more holistic or optimized way, you need to think through the whole system before you get into the whole organizational value chain as a transformation office as well. But practically what happens is, as you mentioned, sometimes people pick some area of the portfolio and they start implementing and then go to further experimentation, so on and so forth. So depending upon the context, that answer comes to you what you are asking, but it is not a single answer for everything. How did you look at your value stream workshop? The scope will dictate how frequently you should do before the art launches is what matters. Does it help?
Yes, Koti, definitely agree. I agree with you. Great inputs, Doctor. Thanks.
Good. Thank you. Shall I move to done this as well?
Yes, yes.
Okay, then let us take this interesting card here. So whose question is this? I am interested to know, nothing to elaborate, but whose question is this? Yes, team, whose question is this?
Hello, here I'm asking the question because this method, the safe implementing roadmap, and you that time you attend your class is more for large organization. What about a company who are very small setup? Must he employ all these people who stand along the roadmap in order to implement a successful agile implementation in the company?
Thank you, Lo, for asking that. So whatever the number, now does not matter it is 17 or 16 or X. Yes, there are so many certifications in the SAFE. Now the question is, do we need to do all of them or not for any safe implementation? That's what you're talking about here. In order to implement Agile, of course, I would read that as scaled Agile. If you want to implement the safe, do we need all these 17 certifications? The answer is no. The answer is no for many reasons. Number one, if you look at this implementation roadmap, you have different certification. First of all, a strong no for a single person to do all certification, period. This is very unfortunate or fortunate. Many people do everything because of what are the reasons. You don't need to care about all certification to learn in the SAFE if you want to implement SAFE in any organization. What is this means then? How do you connect these certifications to you? Let me explain what SAFE recommends. Then, of course, I will conclude that answer of what is expected and why you should not care about everything else. So what SAFE recommends is, see, in a nutshell, there is no success in the SAFE without training everybody in the SAFE environment. In a more fun way, what SAFE says is, in general, train everybody, launch trains. Everybody onboarding in the train, as simple as that. We don't care about your entire enterprise. We don't care about your all organizational headcount. We are talking about Agile release train in the SAFE. In the Agile release train to be successful, all the people onboarding on the train must be trained. There is no if and but. Let us say if the train is having 125 people, for example. Now, those 125 people are going to play different roles in the train. So, let us say there are 12 teams for a good reason, maximum size of the train. Obviously, the best Every team can have one Scrum Master, probably. Master class. What we expect is those 12 people are doing the Scrum Masters certification. Even SAFE does not care about you do certification or not. Another thing what not many people understand. If you want to implement SAFE, you must learn in a SAFE class, which is taught by a SAFE program consultant. That is the requirement to run the game, not to getting access for examination. Attending the class is the key. And the payment we are charging and you are doing also, it is for the attending the class. SAFE recommends to gain the knowledge by attending the class, by learning from the peers in your role specific. So what this means? You don't care about 17 certification. If you are a Scrum Master, you do care about Scrum Master. And we expect that you do that. Now, the question is, who is the person leading this transformation? Who is the person supporting this train to be launched? It is SAFE program consultant. SAFE program consultant is the change agent in the SAFE implementation point of view. And that person is eligible to teach all of these classes. So if your role in the SAFE implementation in your organization is a change agent, or if you want to take that role of the SPC, you are expected to do the SPC certification, what you see here as a change agent. And if your role is not that, you don't care about SPC, and we don't care about all 125 people in the train to do this. We recommend one or few people in the entire train to be done who are deserving as a senior people who can be really change agents. So once they become change agents of this nature and they become competent with SPC, SPCs are eligible to teach the rest of the classes. And so we recommend to become one of the trained fellow to become this, and so that you can optimize a lot of cost in the real time. So SPCs is only that one or two people who are deserving and aspiring for that role in the entire train. Now I don't care about the remaining X number of certifications. I myself is the SME now on this framework from this. Now, usually what happens is some of the people in the train, we firstly recommend to do the leading SAFE, because this is the only class which will talk about the breadth and depth of the framework. So identify those key people in the enterprise who requires to understand the framework better, so that they can go back and explain the remaining people in the train what role specific trainings are available in this SAFE and what they should pursue. And then this class will give that wisdom on what you are supposed to do. And most of the leaders and managers are recommended to do this class. And then they know that what is the power of the SAFE and what kind of rules are possible, what kind of courses are possible. Then you go back and help your stakeholders in the enterprise. Okay, you are from the budget side of the world and approval authority and fiduciaries are senior stakeholders. There is something called LPM. Why don't you do that? So you need to recommend to the stakeholders who can change the game from the budget and everything. This class is only for them. It is not for a fresher. It is not for Scrum Master. It is not for XYZ. It is for those people who are making the decisions in the enterprise success. So if there is somebody is very, very keen in advancing the product management knowledge, if somebody is helping on the backlogs, we have POPM and we have advanced level Agile product manager. And those people who are helping in the architecture, we have architecture class for those architects in the train. For those people are working at the team level, SAFE practitioner. So the advanced people working in the SAFE environment for some time, they wanted to understand the next level of challenges from the practitioners in industry. Then we have these advanced classes, release train engineer and SAFE advanced Scrum Master. If somebody wanted to do these two classes, we expect that typically a Scrum Master spending in the real time art launches at least for 9 months, which means at least 3 art launches you have done. And so it makes sense to come and understand the challenges from your peers in this class to advance your knowledge. Similarly, if you launched a couple of trains, an RTE class can be understood better with the challenges. These are the things not to do on the day one when you don't know ABCs of SAFe. So net, what is happening here? You don't care about all the certifications in the SAFe. You need to care about the certification, what makes sense for your role in the context of implementing SAFe of your organization. If you want to become a change agent, do the SPC. If you want to understand the game better, do the SA. If you want to become a good architect, do the architect. If your nature of cross-functional skill is architecture by virtue of your experience so far. And if you are going to play the role of Scrum Master, do the SSM. If you are going to do the product owner, product manager, do the POPM. If you are the senior executives, have the better handle on the budget, do the LPM. Role-specific trainings we call. If you want to advance software engineering and DevOps, there are classes available. So by and large, no harm in doing SAFe as list by everybody to understand the game better. Once you are done with that, you need to decide what is the next course I should do in the interest of my personal attire in the game. What is my functional baggage? What is the role I am going to play? Accordingly, you do the second certification. There ends the matter. I don't see any reason anybody has to do all the certifications in implementing SAFe, except SAFe as list is very popular and advised for everybody. Then the second one should be your role specific one. Until unless you want to change the game as an SPC, you can do SPC kind of thing. Last but not the least, another thing what we are saying as part of SAFe implementation, formally to claim that we are implementing SAFe, there are 4 mandatory courses to be taught for the entire train. First one is SAFe as list. Second one is POPM. Third one is SSM. Fourth one is SAFe Practitioner. These are the 4 classes to be teach in the train before you launch the train. Mandatory. Without these 4 teaching, you are not allowed to start the train formally. When you are claiming that we are the customer stories guys and we can go and claim to scaled agile, they will not allow you to even to talk if you are not done this process for any art launch. So for those key people, SAFe as list, maybe out of 125 people, pick that 15-20 people who are required managers, leaders, done. You pick those Scrum Masters, as I mentioned, maybe the number of teams in the train, deliver SSM only for those people. You pick those people on the POPM, the product owners and product managers, give them the POPM. Let us say out of 125 people, you may have some SPCs already, and you may have some people playing these roles of SSM and POPM. Some leaders and managers done this class. Net, let us say around 40 people covered already. For the remaining all people, right? About 85 people, you need to give SAFe Practitioner without fail. Whoever is not done any course in the SAFe yet, before you launch train, they must undergo the SAFe Practitioner class. It is a mandatory. The maximum allowed size for this class is 150 people. The remaining classes, there is a max cap also at times, maximum 42. Of course, it varies up to 24 people as well, depending upon the class. None of the classes are mandatory to launch the train. These are the only 4 things. Even those 4 things are classified across the people, what rules they are playing, and we will talk about only those classes for those people. I hope this helps lot to understand what is this cluster of all the certification, what SAFe recommendation and what it means. Yes, no, low.
Yeah, thanks. I'm listening.
Good. Excellent. Yeah, this is another myth also. At times people try to do everything without understanding their roles. I would always recommend to look at your role by understanding the big picture and then see if you can penetrate to that area to do a good justice to your role rather than learning everything where you have the less opportunity to implement them. Then let us take this. What are the different skills required by a Scrum Master trained in CSM versus Safe Scrum Master versus RT? Good. This is another good question to see here. Answer is there are no different skills, period, than whatever you know as a Scrum Master. What is this means? If you are a Scrum Master from different part of the world, it could be Scrum Alliance, if it could be Scrum.org, it could be any org for that matter. If you have a skill set of Scrum Master knowledge, that is good enough to behave as a Scrum Master, first place. If your basics are wrong, and in the first place you don't possess any knowledge, that is a basic problem anyway, when you don't have the right skills as a Scrum Master. Of late, I have seen this Scrum Master is a fancy title as becoming. Project Manager changing to Scrum Master and XYZ mappings are happening, unfortunately. As the name indicates, Scrum Master means the master of Scrum. Scrum Master means master of Scrum. This person need to have the complete handle on the Scrum, regardless of what school of thought they are coming from. As long as you possess that skill, for me, anybody can play anywhere, does not matter the context, to make a good justice to the role. Now, coming to the difference, little bit need to understand in the safe Scrum Master, even in the recommendation perspective, if somebody is a Scrum Master from different organization, in the safe, we are not recommending to do the safe Scrum Master again. Only in the advanced safe Scrum Master class, you can directly come there to understand the challenges of the safe environment. So a CSM, PSM or XSM need not to do safe Scrum Master again. Number one, you need to understand that, because Scrum Master does not change because of safe. The only thing what you need to understand is what is the safe is all about, which is not taught in other school of thoughts, right? Your Scrum Master skills got acquired, but your safe skills did not got acquired. So if you want to put the context yourself into the safe, it is recommended to understand the safe. And so if you are a Scrum Master already from elsewhere, you can do this leading safe class to understand the safe better. And so you can play your role better. There ends the matter. There is no separate skill set required because of safe. You're understanding safe context to play your role better. That is what I would say. Further, release train engineer is a little more weightage in the safe framework, because release train engineer will become the heartbeat of the framework. He or she is the most busiest person to keep the train on the track all the time. They have a lot of collaboration skills and coordination skills across the organization. There are so many things they need to figure out at the train level to resolve the impediments and to help people to move on by reducing the dependencies and many other aspects beyond organization. So this person, what I would recommend is, if you have done a good job as a Scrum Master for some time, I am sure that you are the best bet to become the RTE role as well. If you have really done the mastering the art of Scrum already, of course, release train engineer also, you can play that role better. Just that you need to have the mindset little beyond Scrum Master, because in safe, we may do any framework. It could be Scrum, it could be Kanban, it could be FTD, it could be XP, it could be anything based on the need. There could be all kind of agnostic to the team level frameworks. So if you think always I am Scrum Master, I have these impediments and blah, 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 you may struggle at times. You need to be little open and agnostic to the framework when it comes to the impediments to resolve. How do you facilitate in the safe environment? And of course, when you become RTE, that responsibility goes to the next level, because you are talking about program level, which is Agile release train level. Multiple teams comes into picture. The group dynamics comes into picture. As long as you have the good skills in terms of managing the group dynamics, bringing your experience from the thought of mastery, what you have done, a good collaborator, orchestrator, and those skills will be useful when you go up in the ladder of these hierarchical things in the safe context. So a good servant leader, a good collaborator, and a good orchestrator and a good communicator These are the attributes what I'm referring is very, very important for RTE role, because you might have got that Scrum Master level of skills already from your experience. These are the soft skills you need to possess more than anything else for RTE role to be successful. So does it help? Whoever has written this question?
Yep, that helps. Thank you, Dr. Koti.
Excellent. So then we have about 20 more minutes. So we have 3 things I think we can talk about this. How to identify value streams and allocate development value streams accordingly. I think this is covered pretty much, if I'm not wrong, as part of this detailed approach of VSI and VSMs.
Yeah, Dr. Koti, actually, I wanted to ask more specifically is the question surrounding, you have, I think I asked just now in the course, but you told me to put in the parking lot. But I think the question I want to ask is that, let's say you have this value stream, which is the lending, but you have 2 different teams, right? One is operating and building capabilities for the new digital channels. Another team is building capabilities for the legacy core banking systems. And they have different deployment schedules, release cycles. How do you integrate both teams together and work according to this the PI plan schedule?
So basically what happens here is when you look at the first step in this process is identification of the value streams. That is the most important thing. So when you are going to look at the identification of value stream workshop, the first step happens around the operational value streams. First, you need to look at who are our customers and what our customers are asking for and what are that asks looks like. And that will give you a lot of insights about the product and services you are creating. That mapping will happen operationally. That is the first step in this activity, to visualize end-to-end from the customer's point of view. Once you are visualized, you are going to talk about development value streams now. In the development value streams, based on what you just mentioned, there are multiple solutions you might be creating which are integrating each other. Maybe some of the teams from the development stream creating one solution, some other development stream is creating a part of solution, and these need to be integrated. There could be a separate team altogether creating a manufacturing a component as well. That is also possible in the larger solutions of the value streams. Some development value streams are working on the software thing. Sometimes people are working on the hardware thing. Even look at the classical manufacturing of the cars. There is a infotainment system, there is a braking system, there is integration, components, many things happens. And of course, there is a overall navigation system, GPS system, software, whatnot. I think as you have seen, the people are thinking nowadays, BMW, very soon 50% of their engineers are going to become software engineers. Why BMW is talking about 50% people converting into software? Because that is the way of life going forward. And the end product is the car, and that car required all this kind of skill set, including manufacturing, software, embedded, and everything. So what happens is, once you look at the value stream of a particular stuff, what you need to get out of the door, you need to think about all the development value streams in that. First thing, you will not get there because you don't know what is the development value stream means in the operational value stream. What we say typically here is, first of all, you have seen the operational value stream and you know all the steps in that operational value stream. You also know what is the trigger for that operational value stream. You also know what is the end outcome of the value stream, what benefits to the customer and to the organization. With that, the next step, what we ask is, in the implementation standpoint of view, now think about what are the systems we need to build to make this operational value stream existing in the reality. Because you have different steps involved in that value creation, what are the systems you need to build? You are going to call yourself. Once you have the clarity, for example, if you look at again the car manufacturing, okay, I need to have a component to be done for the braking system. There is a component for the GPS. There is an entertainment system. There is an integration system. There is a digital dashboarding system. Different systems you need to create, and you need to integrate all of them. Integration comes from different ladders again. Because the solution is very large, we typically call it a large solution. We may need to start multiple trains as well. Now, when you look at all these systems to create, then we will ask, okay, what skills and people we require to build these systems? That is the next question people will ask. We know the operational thing. We know the things it requires to build our systems, and how many people we need. Okay, we need 100 people here, 50 people here, X people here. People start putting that number of people required to create that steps. Then together, if you sum all the people across all the steps, it may become thousands of people. This is clearly evident that one train cannot accommodate. So you need to divide and conquer into multiple agile release trains. That is the next step we are going to do. What are the possibilities we club these people together so that can create the values? Those values can be integrated together from the integration point of view. And that is where creating a development value stream by clubbing all of that systems together is called development value stream. And that development value stream will have your designing, defining, building, testing, and validating everything in one group. When you group that number of people required to build that systems together based on some certain common patterns, if that requires more than 125 people in a development value stream, we start more than one train. In that process of mapping, if it is enough to have only 100 people, we will start one train. So depending upon the grouping of that outcomes of the step number 2, it will decide upon how many development value streams we are going to create. And based on the number of people in each value stream of the development, you will figure out whether it is one train or many trains. This is a step-by-step approach. Again, if you look at this big picture, when we are going to talk about this is the operational value streams. You need to think logically. And these are the systems I was talking about creating to make these operational value streams, different types of value streams here. Now, people talk about this kind of questions. What is that customers require to get this value done, and the processing and all of that. Then once you have this clarity of operational value stream, people go and start talking about development value streams now. Again, this will be done based on the overall things here. If you look at some of the things happening in this case, different engine, brakes, chassis, transmission, some components as well. Of course, all of these things are running through some trains, and whatever you see the end results, it will be done through integration of the work. Again, how do you do the integration? Depending upon the product, what you're creating, it could be DevOps, DevSecOps, or outside the DevOps in the manufacturing units, there is a emulations and simulations and integrations of the systems will happen to create that value. So that's how I would say, how do you convert that? But if you are more serious about that, what my recommendation is, the implementing safe, I think the questions what you're asking is more about the safe implementation roadmap. And if you look at that as well, there is a 12-step process involved here. And if you look at identification of value streams and arts, this is one of the best article to answer your stuff again. What is the operational value stream? What are the systems? And each system to build, how many development value streams you are going to create? How are the people looks like? This idea comes from the organizational dynamics again. This story continues to build operational value stream systems. And what are the people we require to create this system? Then how are you going to structure them into a group of commonality? That's what your development value stream. And once you have that clarity, how are you going to containerize them? This is what your art creations. And of course, this is what organizational boundaries and all, you will understand some more dynamics. And this is how different solutions can be onboarded to one train or multiple train. This is what I was talking about. Can a single train can onboard multiple solution, or single solution, or a single train can cater multiple solutions kind of thing. All those guidances comes based on the size and scale what you look at in this workshop. So this is more to do with that implementation, understanding step-by-step approach. It will open up all the avenues for you by connecting operational value to the development value streams, and finally art realizations as well. Does it help?
Yep, it does. Thank you.
Good. So I would further recommend Jasper to read this article without fail, what I just shown you. Let me show you once again. This article, Identification of Value Streams and Arts, it's the most powerful article to, to understand how do you connect that operational value stream to the development value streams. Good. Then let us take this. What are the roles in system teams, DevOps, integration, engineers? Okay, basically, this is all about the competency or the skills, I would say, more than anything else. The scaled agile framework itself got transformed to many ways in the past 1 decade, since ever it got started in 2011. Now, initially there was no system team, and there was a DevOps team, and there was something called HIP iteration, hardening, innovation, and planning. What we call IP today used to be called HIP. HIP means hardening also. Why we need to care about hardening? Why you need to care about multiple iterations to wait for hardening? There was no answer in the beginning of the framework evaluation. Slowly people realized while everybody is working their bit, there should be somebody to integrate all the team's work. And so system team got evolved as a shared team across the organization, maybe across multiple trains they can support to integrate all the team's work. So the responsibility of the system team is to do the end-to-end testing and certifying the whole system is working as expected. If you know about system integration team in our traditional ways of working, the same system integration team, the SIT teams are called as system teams in the SAFE to simplify. And their job is to certify the whole increment as working by doing all kind of end-to-end testing and integration testing and other non-functional testings as well. Now the DevOps means we need to bring that customer centricity to release on demand all the time. You don't want to ask customer to wait for one iteration or one PA or one time box, right? If customers are asking tomorrow morning something to get released, whatever is available as of tomorrow, we should be able to release. That is the level of maturity we need to have as an organization. How are you going to create that culture? That's where DevOps plays the vital role. It is a kind of mindset again to thinking the continuous exploration with the customer, continuous integration, continuous deployments, and releasing to the people by bringing the engineering maturity on those tools and techniques. So when we said before 3.0, DevOps team was a separate team, then we realized it is not a good sign. On one hand, we are talking about togetherness. On the other hand, we are changing that paradigm, taking the competency away from the team and keeping a separate team. There will be a lot of dependencies if you call DevOps team as a separate team. And then finally, people brought in DevOps as a skill within the team in the cross-functional. We must possess that ability to build the DevOps skills all the time, rather than having a separate DevOps people or DevOps engineers or any other integration engineers. Integration engineers are part of system team to integrate the work. DevOps is the skill as part of the Agile teams from the day-to-day point of view. That is the reason we changed a lot of things in the framework in the recent past. We removed even the development team as a name. We are calling Agile team to bring all the people together into the same fold to understand that common collective responsibility of the overall work. And we are talking about this CI, CD, CE, everything in every iteration in the ongoing business. So DevOps becomes the core competency of the team. And this system team will become the integration team to integrate all the team's work. So those are the responsibilities of these people, whether as a separate team or a skill of the teams to move forward. Help?
Yep. Thanks, you. Thank you.
Okay. So then the last one here, role of coach in product roadmaps. By the way, if somebody need to self-organize bio breaks and all, take it. We did not set any context. I hope you are able to manage. Anyway, we are almost towards the end. Role of coach in product roadmaps. So can you please elaborate on this? What do you mean by coach here?
Yes, Dr. Koti. See, the details are like this. If I am an enterprise agile coach in a very large scale transformation, if you look at the product roadmaps are already done or they're evolving over the period of time. Based on my experience, the product roadmaps are up to 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, and so on. Some are less than 1 year also. So, but while the product owner or a product manager owning of the product roadmaps, they prepare with the help of stakeholders. So what is the role of a coach in developing these roadmaps, in uh, internalizing the roadmaps? What are the touch points and how frequently we have to look back and review at the product roadmaps? And then what are the uh, accountability of an agile coach in end-to-end product roadmaps?
Good. Thank you, Dr. Srinagesh, once again for that. I think this is a very good question. Again, a lot of confusions to the people. So basically, this is a niche skill when it comes to the product roadmaps, and it is not everybody's cup of tea. And as an agile coach, you have a designated responsibilities, as I mentioned about it. It is all about understanding the current state of affairs as it is, understanding the future state of affairs, coaching the people to build the right things and stuff like that. Product roadmap evolution could be part of that overall aim of the agile coach. It does not mean that agile coach has to play a lot of role in the product roadmap. The reason for that is very evident and clear. Product roadmap creation itself has got a lot of other efforts by different key senior stakeholders in the enterprise, whose bread and butter is thinking about maximizing the value of the product all the time. So what I have seen from my experience is the product coaches are different, agile coaches are different. The people who are having the agile mindset and the product domain knowledge, they consider to be the product coaches. And they are working closely with the business side of the world to maximize the value of the product, to refine the roadmaps. If you possess that product domain knowledge, both from the product mastery of your context plus the overall product domain knowledge, of course, you can go and collaborate with the business people to define and refine that in the interest of maximizing the value. At the end of the day, it comes to a conclusion. What is that your skill set around that product roadmaps as an agile coach? And what is your organizational clarity on what is expected from you on the agile coach? Because I have seen both kind of the world where agile coach is expected to refine some of the product roadmaps, even they know or they don't know. That is a mandate, unfortunately. In some organization, I've seen very clearly, categorically, they said no, it is not our agile coach role, it is a product coach role. We do have the product coaches with agile mindset. Let them deal with that separately. So it boils down to what is your organizational context, what is your skill set, and all depends. But for me, this is a different ball game. This is a niche skill. It requires to be knowing more about the product knowledge than the process knowledge on anything else. And depending upon your organizational context and barriers, you must understand and agree upon to do something about that. Does it help?
Yes, really fantastic. Very useful.
Good. So that's all pretty much. Backlog is clear. And we are almost close to the time as well. Though it is a small
So
quorum.
may I request, please make sure that the recording is available, please.
I think Garranto will try to do all of that as needed in the marketplace. Ideally, this is for the Garranto alumni today because there is a lot of interest from the public. We opened it. I will check with them on the modality of these things about sharing and everything. We will do as appropriate, Doctor.
There's a lot of learning, too many topics and all. I'm not able to digest at one go. I have to look at this multiple times. Request the organizers, please help us on this.
Sure. I will also inform them to do as appropriate. No worries.
Thank you.
Before we call off. Anyone, please go ahead if you want to share any comments and feedback on the overall.
The overall, it is really unimaginable, unbelievable. The kind of variety of complex areas, really very hands-on, very practical situations. I mean, this is very, very relevant, very important. Thank you so much to Dr. Koti and the Garranto admin. Wonderful exercise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate your time and efforts and bringing those questions in the interest of everybody. Really appreciate that. Anybody else? Any other comments? Jasper, how happy you are with your all questions? Are still any backlog?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Koti. I think answered a lot of questions, especially related more on the implementation and practical side. So yeah, appreciate your time.
Excellent. Thank you. I think good then. So if no other questions and feedback, and we really appreciate taking your valuable time on a precious weekend like this and joining across the globe. And we are looking forward more of these dialogues as an open space to get to know each other, ask these kind of questions, and we will limit them in future if there are more questions and all. And we will try to do the justice based on some dot voting kind of techniques in future. Otherwise, if the quorum is less, we can always go about all the things. Once again, appreciate your all valuable time. Thank you so much and take care and stay safe.
Request the organizers, please involve me.